Dun, 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 dun. Hey Cubs, as you can see from the beginning of this episode, I've got a bit of an obsession with YouTuber craft kits. They're excellent, great for if you want to get into something new. I'm just going to switch camera angles so you can see what we get inside. So, let's get going. Okay, so I'm quite excited for this one. If you don't know Jazza, I'd be very surprised if you don't. I'll link his videos down below, and also link to the sketch pack because I believe there's still a few left. But yeah, like I say, I'm quite excited for this one because sketching isn't something I normally do, and I really should, so this is going to be the perfect way for me to do that. What's that one? Well, that's the discount code. Keep that for later. You look after that, Patches. Okay, where to begin? Let's go with this one. Now this, I believe, was called the clutch pencil. It's basically like a mechanical pencil, but it's a lot chunkier. Let's see if we can get it come out. Nope. And I'm probably going to end up making a mess of this. Probably. Maybe. Oh, there we go. Hey! Whoa! Shot out there. Yeah. Really like that. I do use mechanical pencils, but they're just bog standard ones you get from the supermarket, nothing special. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I like that. Put that back in there. So that makes those, yeah, clutch pencil leads, which is good because I wouldn't even begin to know where to look for those. Imagine Amazon, because let's face it, what can't you get from Amazon? Let's see. Got 2 rubbers or erasers, depending where you're from. We've got a normal one there, and it's a kneadable putty eraser. I really like those. I've had one before. Not entirely sure where it's got to, but yeah, definitely handy to have. Then got the. Ooh, that's a bit stuck. There we go. Metal pencil sharpener. Metal's always better than plastic, I find, because plastic tends to snap. Now this I'm quite excited for. The white pastel pencil, and the reason being is my experience with white pencils, white pens has never been good. Still trying to find a decent one that I like, so I'm hoping that's going to be the one. Then what's this? Oh yeah, water soluble graphite pencils. Something I've never used before, and actually not sure I've come across. I don't do a massive amount of art, strictly speaking. I do a lot of what's known as ARPG art. I've been doing that for about 10, 12 years, something like that. And that's been the majority of my artwork. But I really want to do other stuff and improve on my art overall, because I've been teaching myself, and it's literally just been where I've been drawing most days in the last 10-12 years, something like that. So these are our coloured pencils: Shamrock, Petrol Blue and Tangerine. Odd name for a red pencil, but maybe it's a bit more orange than red, because tangerines are definitely orange. So that's those. What's next? Let's go. Yes. Water brush. I've got a couple of these knocking about somewhere. I've not used them before. Not really had a need to, because I've literally got 2 or 3 watercolour pencils. I've got some watercolour paints, but I generally just use a pot of water and a paintbrush for those. So we'll have a look at that at some point. Then let's see about this, see if we can get it out. Oh, it's fighting. Oh, we got it. There we go. Opaque white. I think this is a, yeah, is that a paint pen? Shape marker and gently pump tip before use. Sounds like a paint pen. So I have got some Poscas. So I'm quite looking forward to that one. It's going to be fun. Now these, let's go, come on. Let's see if we can get crumbs, these are in tight. There we go. I have actually been using alcohol markers for a while now. Because with my artwork that I have been doing, I just kind of get bored of colouring, so I found alcohol markers are best for that. But yeah, we've got the grey browns and the ice greys, which I really like ice greys, and a true black. That's those. This is standard mechanical pencil, 0.7. Looks about the same as the ones I use, size wise, not sure, because I don't think they have a size on them. But yeah, quite like the look of that. And these, I know are blending stumps. I have never ever owned any, let alone used them. I've seen people use them on YouTube, like Sarah Renee Clark and some others, but I haven't got the first clue with those. So definitely look at the guide for those. Those are just your spare leads for the mechanical pencil. These, really liked the brush tip pen in Jazz's first box, so I'm quite excited to have another one. Where is it? That one there. And then we got the chisel nib, 0.05, 0.5, 0.3, and these guys, which are flexi liners, so they're slightly more flexible tips than normal. Again, not something I've used before. Back in. Let's go smallest to biggest. I know this might seem counterproductive, but there we go, especially when we've got this. Now this, I like this. Now this is the carry case, and this is, don't know if the camera will see it, but this is Jazz's mural etched on there, which is really nice. It smells a bit, not of leather, PVC I guess, or similar. Really like Spectrum Noir Jazz Studios imprinted on the back. Let's open this. Oh, other end. It's always the other end. Always. Ooh. Big bit of foam. You mind your nose. Probably do something with that actually. Keep that for later. Yeah. Big pocket in there. Little pocket. And the idea is all of this fits into this, but these are the sketch pads. Oh, get my hands in there. Now this, I believe, is the dry media sketch pad. You'd think after seeing the number of videos I've seen of people using these I'd remember by now, but what can I say? Again, embossed with the mural, which I really like the texture on that. It's really soft. And this one has, I can find it, the elastic band, which you can use to keep it shut, but also to keep your place when you're sketching. Oh, and a bookmark. Excellent. It's really nice paper. Smells good too. Clean supplies always smell good. There's that. The guide. I'm definitely going to be having a look at this because, as I say, I don't really sketch. The main reason is that I have found if I try and replicate a piece I've already done, it looks worse second time around. But I'm thinking that when I start getting into sketching and stuff and do that more often, it might actually benefit that and stop that kind of thing from happening. I'll just get better with it. And this is the multimedia pad, and again the mural this time printed on, and I really like the colours on this, really like them. It's nice paper again. So yeah, that is everything in the kit. I'm going to get set up on the other desk and we're going to give it a whirl. In the case first, because why not? To begin with, I just want to show you guys how I would normally draw, and only using the tools that I would usually use, that being mechanical pencil, sketchbook obviously, fine line and rubber, and then I would find a reference photo for whatever I was drawing, in this case Kodiak bear. I chose the bear because I do find them fairly easy to draw compared to a lot of animals I enjoy drawing. Wow, English please. Also playing with camera angles here, sorry about that. Yeah, so it's literally just copying what I see. I often use sort of lines in the fur to help with shapes and stuff. I don't use construction shapes, construction lines. I don't know why, I just find that quite difficult to do. I remember at school being gifted a how to draw horses book. For those of you artists out there, you probably know the type. You're given a bunch of construction lines and the process that you're supposed to follow, step-by-step guide, and the final image that it's supposed to look like. I could never get it to work from the construction lines. I could only do it from the final image. So that's how I've ended up drawing pretty much all the time, just using photos rather than these how to draw books, because I find it easier. Another thing, probably because of this, that I end up doing quite often is not paying attention to placement on the page, and like with this guy, he's half off it, but you know, he still turned out okay, which is good. And then I decided for the main project what I wanted to do was character design, because it's something I love doing. However, my main creative outlet is actually writing. So 99% of my characters are for my stories, whether that's current projects, future projects, or ones that have potential to be in the stories. So I really wanted to do something different for this, but I was stuck for an idea. So I turned to my husband and he suggested a tiny T-Rex, which I thought was a fantastic idea because I may or may not love dinosaurs. Yeah, but T-Rex isn't one I've drawn a huge amount. In fact, I can't remember the last time I drew a T-Rex. I've drawn a few other dinosaurs, but not all that many. So yeah, it was going to be a long process of practicing realism before turning her into sort of more cartoony chibi style, because that's what Tiny T-Rex says to me. You know, she just has to be toony or chibi or however you want to look at it. But also my thought was, you know, being a tiny T-Rex, she's got to be on her toes, quite literally, because she can get trampled on easily by any of the other animals in the forest where she lives. she definitely lives in an ancient forest where there's potentially other dinosaurs and other large animals such as bears, wolves, anything like that that could easily squish her. Yeah, and obviously you can probably tell from these photos that I've used the Jurassic Park T-Rex for most of the reference for the realism, just because she's so well known, particularly for me, because I love the films. And yeah, I started using construction lines and shapes and just visualising the shapes that I could see in her, and I found this so helpful, and I don't know why I didn't do it before, but you know, when you're self-taught, you just pick it up however it works easiest for you, and for me, like I said, that was the photos, but now looking at the photos, I'm starting to see the shapes of what's under the animals, not from a skeletal point of view, not quite that clever yet. I'll probably start looking at skeletons and stuff at some point, just for additional references, because I know they help a lot when drawing. But yeah, construction lines have made a huge difference for me now that I've finally given them a chance, and the main way I see that is I created an end screen for my videos, which I wanted to include this little girl, whose name is Ez, by the way, and for that I didn't use any photo references. I just wanted to test my limits, see how much I'd learned from this sketching process, and I was able to draw her in a different pose and a different way around from how I had been drawing her, which for me is a huge achievement because I've never been able to do that before. Yes, so it's definitely been a worthwhile process and something I intend to keep up from here on out. I have been doing it the last couple of days as well, but yeah, I didn't think it would make this much of a difference. I don't know why, but it really has. And on to sketching some different poses this time, because we've done the open jaws, which is classic T-Rex pose, but definitely had to try some others, because otherwise I would have been stuck with the same pose the entire time, which kind of defeats the object. Also allowed myself to overlap drawings in this process, something I don't do that often, partly well, I say partly, I'm not really sure why, it's just one of those things, but you know, allowing mess to happen, it's really relaxing, really sort of freeing in a way, so I'm glad that I did. But that's also why I used the different coloured pencils, so I could differentiate between those that did overlap. I just lined a couple of them that I was particularly happy with. This one I actually gave her both an underbite and an overbite, which has carried through into the final design because it's cute, and who doesn't like overbites or underbites? And with the T-Rex you can do both. Then for doing the cartoon version of Ez, towards the final design, I want to reference other cartoon T-Rexes because I wanted to exaggerate certain aspects of her, but I wasn't sure what, apart from the eyes, because I mean, cutesy cartoon characters always have big eyes, but also T-Rex has very tiny eyes, so definitely wanted to make those bigger. And I wasn't sure what else I wanted to do bigger, and in the end I actually settled on giving her bigger feet. Not sure why, but it works quite well. I mean, T-Rex has massive feet anyway, so it's just kind of natural that that happened. This one ended up with a really tiny head, not sure why, wasn't intentional. But here we are onto the final piece, and just pulling out all the extra bits I need for that. And I decided to use the mixed media pad for that. Patches makes a very good book rest, by the way. And yeah, just wanted for Ez herself to keep the drawings that I'd already done as reference. Orientating the notebook was a bit tricky. Yeah, I mean sketch pad. See, I'm used to writing, calling it a notebook. But I think because I wanted to do a forest type background for her, portrait seemed to be the best idea in the end. Backgrounds again are something I struggle with quite a lot, and for the longest time I actually didn't draw them because I hated them that much. But I'm slowly getting out of that habit. You'll see this isn't the best, but the main focus on this piece was Ez, not the background. I just kind of wanted to use it to help emphasise her size. I did use a couple of blades of grass which looked terrible in the end. I need to sort of look at them a bit better. I did pull up a couple of references, but they look more like how I draw seaweed. And I apologise for the lighting in this section. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was just bad lighting outside, because I've got a huge Velux window behind me where I'm sat. I can't remember what the weather was like that day. It probably had a big impact on the lighting. It usually does. I'm trying my best, and I will get upgrades as soon as I'm able, but that's not at the moment. There we go. Oh, that grass. We just don't talk about the grass. And yeah, I coloured Ez using the warm greys, and I do have to agree with Disco Kitty on this, where the mixed media pads seem to drink the ink from these markers really quickly, making them feel a lot drier than they actually are. Because I've since used them in the dry media pad, which, whilst obviously they bleed through because it's not designed to handle markers, they don't feel as dry, which is always good. To do too much colour in the background. I didn't want to detract too much from Ez, but also I didn't want the markers to completely use up. And then just did some brief shading. I think this is what's known as cell shading, just where you sort of do the obvious bits. Again, shading something I'm not that great at. My head can't sort of translate where light and shadow should be, but I'm working on it. And then the final thing I did after the shading, which I did with the soluble graphite pen and then used the water brush, but after that I used the white pastel pen on Ez's claws, and what I should have done was put down some marker first and then did the white pencil, but you know, I wasn't paying attention. You live and learn. But I'm really happy with how Ez has turned out, and I hope you like her too. And that's it for this video, Cubs, and I will see you in the next one.